What's goody? It's your host Jay Rose, and we back with the BagTalk podcast. We got a lot to talk about today, so we're just gonna get straight into the hoops. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're messing with the content and if you're messing with this episode of the podcast. But let's get into it. The first topic I want to cover are the best and worst performers of the first couple of days of the NBA season starting. Obviously, these don't have any big implications. It's just some teams only played one game, some teams played 3, so we're in that range pretty much. I don't want you guys to overreact too much, but these are my observations based on what I saw in those first couple of games. And we're gonna start off with the best players. We like to be positive, start off with some positivity. And Damian Lillard, man. Yeah, I knew it was coming. Dame dropped a 40 ball his first game in Milwaukee. That's insane. And it really just looks scary that the fact that Giannis had a pretty tame game for Giannis standards and Dame went off like that. It's just like, wow, man. Wow, we really do have something in store with this Milwaukee team, and I think they have the possibility to be really special. Obviously, they're supposed to be front runners right now. But yeah, seeing that from Dame, definitely a great sight. I like how Giannis was deferring a little bit and letting Dame get comfortable, but I do want to see Giannis be Giannis at that same token, because that's when the Blazers, that's when the Bucks are going to be at their best, 100%. Next up on my best, I got Tyrese Maxey, man. Tyrese Maxey has been just the perfect 1-2 punch with Joel Embiid, and honestly, if he can keep this up for the whole season, they can trade James Harden for whoever they want. If Tyrese Maxey is genuinely going to be this good and he's going to be a genuine second option next to Joel Embiid, man, the sky is really the limit for the Sixers team at this point. They have a lot of leeway because with James Harden, they want to get a strong, super strong piece back to make sure that they stay afloat. But if Tyrese Maxey can really just hop into that second option role where James Harden was, and honestly, these first 2 games, he's been playing better than James Harden has in that same role. So I like Tyrese Maxey so far. He has been one of the better players in the league and definitely stepped up big. This could have some real implications for the Sixers, honestly. I know that James Harden talks have stalled a lot because James Harden is, he was being an ass. His value dropped a lot. He only got 1 year on his contract. I wouldn't assume that his value would be too high, but if they can get anything of worth, I think that'll be very good, especially if Maxey is playing like this. So kudos to Tyrese Maxey and the Sixers, definitely. Next up, Nikola Jokic, and there ain't really too much to say, man. Jokic is Jokic. They played the Lakers, and Jokic absolutely fried. He just did his thing. Honestly, there's not too much to say about Jokic because when you look at him play, the numbers really do just speak for themselves. Jokic is that guy. Straight up, Jokic is that guy. He put up a triple-double in the first night. And did they play twice? I'm going to check right now. They did play twice. Second game, right, against Memphis. Not as big, but still great numbers. 22, 12, and 7. Great efficiency. Things that we come to expect from Nikola Jokic. So obviously he's coming out and he's one of the best players in the NBA again. This is light work for him. Seems mundane. He just comes out and he gives us big performances time after time after time. So I'm not surprised at all that he's been playing well so far to start the season. Next up, I don't think a lot of people have been keeping this guy on their radar, but I have because he's on my fantasy team. RJ Barrett, I was not expecting him to come out the gate this hot, but he's been the Knicks' best player so far, and I can say that with confidence. Each of the 3 first games, RJ Barrett has been either the leading scorer or one of the leading scorers, either 1 or 2. So I definitely have a lot of praise for RJ Barrett so far, especially because I'm not a guy who was too high on RJ Barrett at all. I'll just say that. I was not too high on RJ Barrett at all. So being that he's becoming, he seems to be becoming more of an all-star type player. He seems to be going in that direction. He seems like he's taking a decent amount of progression in this offseason. I do wish he would pass the ball a little bit more. I think his playmaking does need to take a bigger jump for him to really become one of those upper echelon players. But coming out the gate hot, RJ looks really good right now. He scored 27 in the first game. He scored 24 in the first game, 27 in the second game to go along with Jalen Brunson's 31. And then he only had 18 in the game against the Pelicans last night. But the Pelicans absolutely fried the Knicks, and he looked like the best player on the Knicks regardless. Jalen Brunson was cold. Julius Randle was cold. Nobody could score. RJ seemed to be the only person that could even kind of get some kind of ball rolling on the offensive end. So definitely like what RJ Barrett has been doing so far. I don't know if I should have kept this player on the list, considering that he is hurt and he didn't play the last game and isn't going to play the next game, which is pretty concerning. But Devin Booker came out the gate super hot. That first game, he looked amazing against the Warriors, and I really just had no words. I had no words. That was a complete masterclass. An offensive juggernaut is what Devin Booker is. Getting to his spots, and he's automatic pretty much. He looked like the best player on the Suns, and he is the best player on the Suns in my opinion. And I'll say that time and time again, especially after seeing that performance. There's not too much of an argument for me. I think if everybody on the Suns is playing, D-Book is the one option, and I don't really want to argue that at all. I don't. D-Book comes out. He looks the most athletic. He looks the most ready to make a move. He looks like he's the most comfortable, and he also has a deeper bag than KD at the moment, and it's not even close. Devin Booker is better going to the rim. He got the jumpers. He knows how to get to his spots, and he's not looking for one specific shot. He'll take what the defense gives him, and if he does force something up, it looks like it's going down anyway. D-Book was on a tear that first game, continuation of what he did in the playoffs last season, and I definitely want to see him back on the court, but we're going to have to just wait for that. He's been out with a foot injury, so hopefully he can come back from that, get well soon, D-Book. Next up, Kade Cunningham. Kade Cunningham had one stinker. He definitely did have one stinker, and that was the game I bet on him. Shaking my head. These players, man, I swear they'd be so good until I bet on him, and then he want to get 12 points. But besides the 12-point game, he had a 30 ball with 9 assists and a 25-point game and 10 assists. I'd also want to bring his teammate into the mix, but I'll bring him in a later segment. But yeah, Kade has been going off. I told you guys I like Kade to take a big jump this year, and he seems to be taking that jump. I hope he can stay healthy. First 3 games, besides the stinker, he looks really good. Even with that bad game, he still looks like a really good player. The Detroit Pistons look a lot better than they looked last year. I just want him to stay healthy. That's going to be the real main thing for Kade Cunningham, because I know he's good at basketball. He just has to stay on the court. And if he can do that, this team is going to look really decent, man. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team or anything, but they have the building blocks to make their rebuild actually move in a forward direction now. Along with other players, Jaden Ivey, Jaylen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Marvin Bagley. They look really decent right now, Detroit. So I'm high on them. I'm definitely high on them in the upcoming years. I want them to actually be able to be something. But as of right now, with where they are in their rebuild, I think they're in a great spot. Kade is definitely the leading driving force in all of that. So kudos to Kade. Another player we got is Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell also missed the game already, but the first 2 games he had a 40 ball against Shea, and then he had 27 points his first game. So there you go. Like, Donovan Mitchell just comes out and he's being Mitch again. So being consistent, having the scoring, and he also had a duel with Shea. Shea also had over 30 points, and he's also on this list for players who start out hot. Shea has been on a tear as well. These are 2 of the best 2 guards in the NBA, and I'm not surprised that they came out the gate swinging. There's one last guy he's more in my head. I didn't put him in the list, but Zion has been very decent so far. I'd go as far to say he's back, man. He's back. The scoring performances have not been jumping off the page. He scored 23 and 24 points. One of those was a blowout win, so I wasn't expecting him to really play much in the fourth. Actually, the Knicks were up and down. But either way, Zion did not play like a super amount of minutes. He played 28 minutes. That's not a lot of minutes for a star player at all. So for him to play 28 minutes and end up with 24 points, I think that's really good for Zion. He looks really dominant. He absolutely fried the Knicks. He had a really good dunk on Jaren Jackson as well in the game before. So yeah, Zion's been coming out the gate and he looks real decent. If he can start ramping up those minutes, I know he's gonna have some huge performances. His offensive bag looks great. He's back to blocking shots as well. So I definitely like Zion, and I'm gonna be watching a lot more Pelicans games this season, 100%. Last but not least, actually, I feel like I forgot a couple people. I just skipped over my favorite player. I'm a fraud. I just skipped over my favorite player. Luka Doncic, man. Luka came out and he's been hooping. First game against the Spurs, hooping had over 30, and the game against in the game against the Nets, he had 49, and he scored like 15 straight in the last like 3 minutes. Like, Luka was going off. He's obviously one of the best players in the NBA, and not much has to be said about those guys. I feel like they're gonna come out, they're gonna do their thing, and Luka has done just that. So Luka is also on this list for some of the best performers to start off the season. Lastly, I feel like this guy's more like an honorable mention. I don't remember what he did in the first game, but I don't remember him being good. I don't remember him being good at all. But Zach LaVine with the first 50 ball of the season, so I gotta have him up here. He scored 51, no assists, donut in the dime column. Bro was not passing at all, and I just needed him to pass to DeMar DeRozan one more time, and I would have won $100. But hey, it is what it is. Zach LaVine, first 50 ball of the season. He was on a tear. He was on an absolute tear. But that Bulls team sucks. Free Zach. Like, seriously. Free Zach. Scoring 51 to lose by, like, over 15, I think it was, is absolutely insane. So I feel for Zach LaVine, man. I definitely feel for Zach LaVine. Free Zach. I feel like he'd go good on the Knicks. He'd go well on the Knicks. I'm not sure where else is really looking for a two-guard who doesn't play defense, doesn't pass, and scores a ton. A team that would need a pure scorer that's looking to win right now should probably look to get a Zach LaVine. I'm not sure where that would be. I'd have to think more into that, but definitely a good game from Zach LaVine. Oop, maybe the Sixers. Maybe the Sixers. I'm just saying. Their defense will be absolutely shot, but whatever. Now, let's get into the worst players to start off the season. And this first one's probably going to be a little controversial, especially because I let other players who had bad games stick into my best players. But I'm going to go with Jaylen Brown. He had one good game with 27, then one bad game. And JB, he just looks like he's scared to go left. And it's very noticeable now. It's been a meme throughout the entire offseason, but I was like, Jaylen Brown is a 27, 28 point per game scorer, and he's been that. So he's going to continue to do that. And this left thing is probably not going to affect him too much in the regular season. We come out, and teams are definitely forcing him left completely. I've seen straight double teams. I've seen one player in front, one player completely cutting off his right side, and he still won't go left. And it's very frustrating to watch that, especially because I know how skilled Jaylen Brown is. So this one super big deficiency in his game is definitely harming him, and I hope it doesn't harm the Celtics too much. I do want to talk about the Celtics a little bit more later as well, because I'm not super impressed with them to start off the season, but I'm especially not super impressed with Jaylen Brown. I expected him to be a little bit more hungry to show people that he does have a left and he can't just get put in a box like that. But he just hasn't really been on that timing to start off the season. Like I said, he had that one good game. So if I'm dragging it, that's cool. But for the eye test, I've watched these games. I watched both of them for the Celtics, and I'm just like, I'm not really feeling it from Jaylen Brown. I don't feel like this is his best performance. I don't think he came out the gate strong. I'm going to need to see more from him. And hopefully that left hand comes around, because it's really ridiculous what they're doing, bro. Like, I can't really fathom the fact that an NBA player is getting pushed so far to his offhand and he still won't go there. That's crazy. Because I'm just saying, max I go is D3 basketball, and I'm going left, bro. If they forcing me left, I have no problem going left. So it's kind of weird to see an NBA player who scores that much. He's an all-star type player, highest paid player in the NBA. Don't go left. Insane to me. But on to the next one. And I have Kyrie Irving. Kyrie did not play well in either game. He was very inconsistent with the jump shot, very inefficient as well. He doesn't look like he doesn't look like, it's not a meshing issue with Luka, as most people would try to paint it out. Listen, I watch these Maverick games, so I'm not just spouting BS. I'm watching the Mavericks, and I'm watching, like, there's moments when Luka's not even on the court. Kyrie's on the court with the bench players. He'll be deferring to Tim Hardaway Jr. Kyrie doesn't look as aggressive sometimes, and when he is aggressive, the shot hasn't been falling. I've seen him miss shots that are pretty, like, light for Kyrie. Like, you don't see Kyrie missing too many layups. I've seen him miss a couple of layups. You don't see Kyrie missing too many open mid-range jump shots. I've seen him miss a bunch of those as well. So I think Kyrie just came out cold. He's going to have a bounce-back game. I'm not thinking he's going to have any issue scoring. Shoot, next game, I think he's probably going to go for 30. But so far, Kyrie has not been one of the best players. He's been one of the worst, in my opinion. Very underwhelming stuff, but the Mavericks still pulled the wins out, so that's a positive. Hopefully when Kyrie gets better, the Mavericks will also look better, and we can pull some more of these wins out. But yeah, that's where I have Kyrie right now. Next up, I have Chris Middleton, and the Bucks only played one game, but Chris Middleton did not look good. I think he scored like 6 points, and that's very underwhelming. You definitely would assume that Chris Middleton would come out and have a little bit more of an impact, at least to 15, especially because the focus isn't on you anymore. I feel like Chris Middleton was definitely the second option when Jrue Holiday was there. Now you're the third option, and the second option is so much better than you. So I don't think the defense is going to be as worried about Chris Middleton, especially going on throughout the season. When Dame is pulling 30, 40-foot bombs, getting 40-point games, I don't think Chris Middleton is going to be on most teams' top radar, especially when you also have to worry about Giannis. So the fact that you're now a third option, former second option, supposed to be one of the better scorers in the league, I'm expecting more than 6 points from you. That was very underwhelming. And yeah, I need more from Chris Middleton. Honestly, I'm surprised he's still on the Bucks. I thought for sure Jrue Holiday was staying and Chris Middleton was going, but obviously that did not happen. Regardless, who cares? You got Damian Lillard. You got what you wanted. So I know the Bucks and Bucks fans are happy, but I do think Chris Middleton has to do just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. I don't think 6 points is cutting it, bro. I'm going to need some efficient shooting from you. You got to be that good third option, especially because you were a second option on a championship team. So I think you being a third option should make the Bucks a very dangerous team, but we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, just one game for them. Next up, I'm going to put these two together, and it's Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. These are two guys where they're key pieces in the rebuild for the Houston Rockets, and you're going to want them to come out and make a jump. In Jalen Green's case, I'm expecting to see more efficient basketball, smarter plays, better IQ, less turnovers, and less missed shots. And he came out and he hasn't been doing that. He's come out and he looks exactly the same and a bit worse, if I'm being honest. And that's just not a good look. If you guys watched my last video, I talked about how I don't like shot chuckers. I don't like vacuums, black holes, guys who you give them the ball, you're not seeing it for the rest of the possession. And Jalen Green absolutely fits that mold. And because he's not one of the upper echelon players in the NBA or one of the more efficient players in the NBA, you're going to see a lot of times that Jalen Green is going to give you some real ugly basketball. And guess what? Jabari Smith Jr. also fits that mold. I saw Jabari Smith Jr. He looked like a man amongst boys in the summer league, so I expected him to come out in the regular season and give me a little some. And he just hasn't so far. Very disappointing stuff for both of those young stars. They played 2 games, so like I said, I'll give you the little preface or my little warning. Just 2 games. Season just started. But that's what I noticed so far, and honestly, based on Jalen Green's track record, I'm not going to say too much about Jabari Smith Jr. This is his sophomore season, so, that's neither up or down yet. He could be better going forward. He could be more the same. He could be worse. We'll see. There's not much to say about him. We don't have too much on him. But Jalen Green's been in the league for a little minute. I think this is his 3rd or 4th season. I'm definitely expecting you to have some more growth at this point. And the fact that you really just look like the rookie version of you, more or less, is very disappointing. I would like a bigger jump from Jalen Green. I was very high on him coming into the draft, and the fact that the gap between him and Kade Cunningham is this big at this point is very concerning. I'd like Jalen Green to be better, to be frank, but we'll see what happens with that. Now, this is a segment that I really was waiting to do. The lesser known players. I want to put y'all on some players that are not too big, not household names, but they've been playing well. And we're going to start off with Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown was a guy he was an energy guy on the Nuggets, but when they got their championship, averaged like 5 points. He hit a 3 there, lay there, played some great defense, but he was never really seen as a scoring threat. For the most part, he was there to aid the scoring threats, But now that he's on the Indiana Pacers, he's definitely getting his opportunity to shine. He's averaging 16 right now, so that's a great start out the gate for Bruce Brown. He got his bag, and he's showing people that he's nice. I, for one, knew Bruce Brown was nice way back when he was on the Brooklyn Nets because I saw flashes. I saw those flashes. So I'm glad that he's on Indiana. He's doing his thing. He's definitely a valuable player. He could fit and slot in on most teams, so he's going to have a nice, long career. Good for Bruce Brown, man. Good for Bruce Brown. Came out the gate swinging. And next up, we got Devin Vassell. I was talking about Devin Vassell a couple videos ago when we did the Victor Wembanyama reaction. And he's just a bona fide scorer. He's going to be a great player. And because a lot of the attention is going to be on Victor Wembanyama, he's going to get a lot of opportunities to score. That Spurs team is a lot better than I feel like people give them credit for. They have Devin Vassell. They have Keldon Johnson. They have Jeremy Sohan. They have Vic. They got one of the Jones brothers, I believe. I could be lying about that, but I think they have one of the Jones brothers. That's just a good team. That's just a good team. And they got Pop as the coach. Of course, I think they're going to progress well through the season. I've seen some people say they're going to be a playoff team. I don't know about that, especially in this Western Conference. It's going to get hectic in the West. It's definitely going to get hectic. We can't even really tell or predict what's going to happen based on this week, obviously. It's very, very weird. The Western Conference, I feel like it's going to be close like it was last year. Maybe not super airtight like it was last year, but it's going to be close at the very least. I don't see the Spurs slipping in there. If they do, it's going to be playing, and that would be very impressive if they did. But yeah, like I said, a duo to watch would be Vic and Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell going off, so definitely keep your eyes out for Devin Vassell, man. He averaged I think he's averaging 23, 24 right now, and that's a player that nobody's on their radar, so definitely good stuff from DV. Next up, we got Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas, man, he came out and he dropped 30 and 36. And I'll never understand why Cam Thomas doesn't regularly start. I understand he also fits the black hole mold, but when that man gets hot, it's lights out. He's not missing for the rest of the game. Cam Thomas is like one of the only players to come off the bench and get 30 this many times. Like, he's just consistently going on for 30. Even last season, he comes out this season, 2 30-point games out the gate. I think he definitely deserves that starting spot next to Mikal Bridges. I'm not sure how he's not starting at this point, especially on a Nets team that I feel like isn't really competing for anything. They're in no man's land right now. So, yeah, Cam Thomas coming out the gate. We all knew he was a bona fide scorer, and he's showing us that again. So, absolutely keep your eye out for Cam Thomas. If you got a fantasy league, pick Cam Thomas up. He can be real valuable. Next up, we got Derek Lively. Derek Lively for the Dallas Mavericks. I wasn't expecting Derek Lively to come out and really do too much, but in his first game, he had 16 points and 10 boards. Fun fact, his career high at, I think he went to Duke. I believe he went to Duke. If he didn't, I take it back. But his career high in college was 10 points. His first game in the NBA, he had 16 against Victor Wembanyama, played some amazing defense. He looked like he's going to be a great anchor. So I hope he can get these starts and win the starting spot, because honestly, there's no other bigs on our team that's better than him right now. And even if there were, I like him starting so we can develop him. He looks like he has a lot of talent, a lot of potential. So I'd like Derek Lively to be our main focus at the big man spots. Yeah, came out the gate hot. He outperformed Victor Wembanyama in both of their rookie debuts. Played some great defense. So I'm real high on Derek Lively. Glad he's on my team. Glad we drafted him. Yeah. And lastly, on my lesser knowns, I have Jaylen Duren. Jaylen Duren for the Detroit Pistons. He's been going off, man. He's averaging like 18 and 15. He's had a couple of 20-plus point games. Like I said, this is Kade's teammate. Those two together are looking like a real duo, real scary stuff. So if the Pistons can build around that, hopefully they can keep up this level of play. And if they can, the Pistons are going to look real nice. Like I said, these two look like they've really accelerated the rebuild. So if they can stay healthy, it's going to be a real nice position for the Detroit Pistons, and I know they want to get there. They've been rebuilding for a while, and before they started rebuilding, they were in no man's land. So they look like they have the potential to be a really good team in the East in the coming years. So hopefully they can achieve that with this core that they have now. Add a couple more pieces, get better. internally build in the Detroit Pistons could really become something soon. Now for my next and last segment, I want to talk about some notable games. And we got a couple of these. First off, like I was saying earlier, we got Mitch versus Shea. I don't have too much to say about this, except for the fact that the Oklahoma City Thunder as a whole outplayed the Cavaliers. But Donovan Mitchell was just on a different level. Obviously, Shea did his thing as well, but Donnie was clearly the best player on the court. Chet Holmgren had a huge impact on his game. He had 16 points. I think he had 7 or 8 blocks. Something crazy like that in his first game. And, man, they just look good. Luke Dort also had 20-plus points. I think he had 27. So you add that along with Shea, Chet, boom, that's how you get the win. Donovan Mitchell, he got a 27-piece from Max Strus, but he just needed a little bit more in order to get the W. But it was a good matchup. It was a great matchup. Next, I got both of the Maverick games, and I was a little concerned because watching the Mavericks, I saw that we had close games with teams that I don't think are competing for much. We had a close game with the Spurs and a close game with the Nets, and that's just not a good look. Like I said, Kyrie Irving did not look his best self. He didn't look like he was efficient or aggressive enough, and he's missing bunnies. To be honest, a lot of these shots, even if they're not bunnies for other people, they're bunnies for Kyrie Irving. So the fact that he's missing a lot of these easy looks, it's not a great start, but we still won the games. I'm concerned about how close they were. I'd like us to have a bigger margin on teams like that. But like I said, when your co-star is not having his best stretch, the games are probably going to look like that. Hopefully Kyrie can come back to form and we can get some better games from the Mavericks as a whole and not just Luka completely dominating. Next up, I have both Celtic games as well. The Celtics were very underwhelming for me as well. I feel like going into the NBA season after the offseason that they just had, I'm expecting the Celtics to be pretty much bulldozing through the league, and they had a super close game with the Knicks, and then they had another close one, I believe. But yeah, with the Knicks game, they were up huge. They were up huge in the first quarter, and then they just completely lost it. They let the Knicks come back. The Knicks actually have been fighting back a lot recently. They'll go down and come back these really huge deficits, like 15 plus points. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, I don't think that any guys on the Celtics have looked super consistent. Jason Tatum looked amazing in the first game. He looked okay in the second game. Like I said, Jaylen Brown looked trash in the first game, but he was good in the second game. He needs to go left. I promise you, if he would just confidently go left, there would be so many more opportunities for him scoring and passing as well, because he does not play make to save his life. But yeah, Porzingis coming in, he looked great in the first game, had a 30-piece, shooting threes all over the place. Second game was a lot more subdued, didn't take as many shots. Jrue Holiday had a double-double with rebounds, almost triple-double in the second game. He's looked up and down as well. Nobody on the Celtics looks super duper good. They all look like they're still meshing, so very underwhelming start for the Celtics. That's what I got for them. I want to talk about Bucks Sixers as well, because this was a game that really surprised me, especially looking at the fact that Damian Lillard had 40 points. I expected the Bucks to be up a lot more, but like I said, Giannis had a very tame game, only 23 points. Chris Middleton only had 6. So when you look at it from that standpoint, you can clearly see how that game was so close. Also, the Sixers were going off. Joel Embiid wasn't, but Kelly Oubre absolutely going off. Tyrese Maxey absolutely going off, and it felt like the Bucks could not stop those two at all. So the Bucks defense looked a little suspect, on top of the fact that Chris Middleton didn't do his best due diligence. Giannis didn't have his best performance either, but Joel Embiid didn't have his best performance either, only 24 points. Tyrese Maxey and Kelly Oubre both had 27 plus. So those guys, they did their thing. That game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, especially with James Harden out. I thought that the Philadelphia 76ers wouldn't be able to compete with the Bucks, but first game. I'm definitely expecting more from them as well. It was a banger game, though, I'll tell you that much. Lastly, I want to talk about Suns versus Lakers. KD and Bron's first meeting in what was it, like 5-6 years? Something crazy like that. LeBron, he looked great in the fourth. I'm not a big fan of the minute staggers that are going on with LeBron. I wish he would just play, honestly. And I know that's not his doing. I know he wants to play. And the Lakers are making sure he's on a minutes restriction so he doesn't get gassed out or get hurt. But LeBron got to play, man. If we're being serious, this Laker team is not going to be good if LeBron's only playing 30 minutes a game. He has to be up around the 35, 36, 37, 38, around there. I'm not saying play him the full 48, but you can't play him 20, 28, 30 minutes a game. It's not going to cut it, especially because when he's off the court, y'all suck. So if he's off the court for a good portion of the game, you're probably not going to pull these games out. You're giving teams 18, 20 minutes to come back on you guys when your best player's not on the floor, and that's when they get their most buckets. So it's going to be a scary, scary season if LeBron is not going to be playing an amount of minutes that they need him to play. If you're going to not play him for some portions of the game, he got to play in the fourth, and that's what happened against the Suns. The Suns absolutely fried the Lakers. They were frying them on offense, and then in the fourth they just got completely cold. Shout out KD. KD almost had a 40 ball, 37 points, and then LeBron just closed it out. He closed it out on offense, and he had some defensive plays as well. AD had a 30 ball. So the Lakers got their first win on the season off the Suns. The Suns haven't been healthy. Beal didn't play the first game. Book and Beal didn't play the second game. So they're definitely going to need those guys to come back and be healthy. I think the Suns are actually going to look real, real scary when they are. But as of right now, they just don't have healthy guys. So hopefully they can get their bodies back on the court. But that's it for this episode of the BagTalk podcast. We've been here for 30 minutes. This is the first time I've done one of these full-length podcasts talking about multiple things. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment. Let me know what you liked, disliked about it, something I could change for the next one. And I'm out of here.